Hello, it's Chunk again, and this time I'm going to be reviewing one of my ranked sim games. It's going to be Boa against Enel. I did win the die roll, so I did go first. He is on Rayjuice, and I am playing a different build than my POV videos. I'm on the Mule package here, as well as Kaya, to kind of organize the top of my stack and or bottom deck to have better healing. First turn, I didn't have anything. Second turn, I played Margaret, and I searched a Ran and discarded that same Ran so that I could have something in trash and leave my hand unknown to him. I did start off by swinging 5. It took, I believe it took a life. And then now I'm deciding on my first play of my turn 3, which I have Ran available and I have Namil. However, in this matchup, I'm going to want to play bodies, of course, for him to deal with, as I am trying to get him to 0 pretty quickly. Here I play Ran so I can use her ability attached to my leader, and then attach a second one to swing 7. My goal here is to get him as low as possible so I can go for a kill. His second turn, he was able to play the Reiju, and his third turn, he is able to play the Enel, so he's playing perfectly on curve. And here, my board is Ran, Margaret, and I'm hoping they stay alive. I see he discards Enel Thor. My goal here is, again, to kind of poke out as many cards as I can out of his hand. The Reiju makes it difficult, however, I did open this Rayleigh. And this Rayleigh is going to be extremely useful for getting rid of his board. He does use a Kitten here to reduce my Margaret, and then a Mamaragan to rest my Ran. Ideally, I don't lose more than one body a turn so that I have more life I can steal from him, as it's very difficult to get Enel low while they're so heavy on resources and I'm trying to develop board. Here he goes and uses leader ability, attaches to his pudding that he played on the previous turns, or on turn 1, on his turn 1, and he goes 6 at my Margaret 4. I'm definitely going to give that up. I don't want to give up 2 cards for this swing. He still has his leader swing, and Reiju is available to swing, so I just have him eat life now. And he's at 3 events in trash, and he burns the Mamaragan to get the Reiju to 9 cost 7k. And he swings 5 at my Ran. Because he was able to get the last minus event, that changes my game plan. Originally, I could have considered countering for 1, countering for 2, but now I would have to give up 3 cards, 1k, 2k, 2k, to be able to out this Reiju, assuming that he would use the last on to have Reiju swing 8 at my 5. But instead, he just ends up opting for a pudding. He does play the Reiju defensively, which allows me to get full value from this Rayleigh. I'm able to KO it since I believe it KO's base cost 7 or less. And I go ahead and poke face. Here, there is an option to swing at the pudding. However, the pudding does not give him any more value in this game. And he has a second pudding. So either way, there will be a 6k minimum swing coming at me from the other pudding. So it just makes more sense to keep pressuring his life and try to get him to 0 as fast as I can. He does play his second Enel, which is exactly what Enel wants to do. Their goal is to play like 2 or 3, maybe 4, and then just win out with their events and stalling you out by reducing your costs and using Kitten or the freeze spell. I forget what it's called. Kitten is the -1. And you'll see me constantly. He's cycling through his trash. He uses Kitten and Mamaragan to rest my Silver's Rayleigh, which seems bad because I'm going to be boardless. However, as I'm checking his trash, I realize there's 3 of each, and he's been using them to cycle quite a bit. I choose to counter the 5k from Enel because I assume that it will soak up either a 7k or a 10k swing, which it does. It does exactly the job I was supposed to, except at the cost of just the 1k. The 7k swing that I was imagining would happen was actually replaced by Ohm and ended up just being a 6k. However, I still took it. Then I drew an Emil. And here I'm going to try to cycle to find Gecko Moria or other answers that I can heal to life. I choose to bottom deck Ran and Boa. I probably should have bottom decked double Boa, as there's not really opportunity to play that card in this matchup. And I'm choosing to stack this on top because I found my first Zoro. Zoro is the answer that I'm always looking for in this deck, so I'm looking to have him in trash so I can trigger Gecko Moria and revive him. I choose to put Kaya behind the Zoro strictly because if I already have a Gecko in my life, I can revive it and draw, then heal the Margaret. And the trigger lets me draw a second potential counter. I choose to swing 8 at lead, and he gives me a 2/1/1 in order to counter out, which is pretty nice for me. Means that there's no more dog coming. And he got rid of 2 blockers. Here I'm noticing there's 3 K10, 3 Mamaragan, which means that I'll be able to comfortably play double blocker in the endgame. He does another search and trashes the blocker and no. Which I think he's kind of done playing 6 cost at this point. I think he kind of filled out his board where he wants it to be. So here he swings 10. I choose to take. Wondering if it was a mistake. Because I have Namula and Namula is super sensitive to Althor, I do get punished here. He is able to Althor right after. And I'm stuck with just the Boa here. And here I'm just checking my trash to see if there's anything worth reviving. And he just swings 6 to me. So because he swings 6, I'm able to just freely 2k to keep my Boa blocker active. Because I would like to keep as many bodies on board as possible, as I'm trying to lethal him within the next 2 turns. He attaches 4 on the Ohm. And the 5th to go 7 to lead. And he does reduce my Boa. That triggers me to automatically block, because if he has the Mamaragan in hand, he would get to swing 10 to lead and potentially win the game. Although I think I had the counter. Yeah, I ended up having the counter, but that's not relevant. If it was a 0, then we lose, because I only had 2-2-1 at the time. I think that's what it was. And here, I debate on a couple things. I debate on playing Boa Zoro so I can keep as much counter in hand, as I haven't really seen him, or I've seen all his Mamaragans go. However, his board is quite big. I do choose to swing at the Ohm here so that he doesn't get the free reduction on a Borsellino and rest it with Mamaragan, because there is still 1 more left in his deck. However, it's unlikely that he sees it since he's already seen 3 of them, as well as 3 K10. So if I'm able to successfully deal with this Ohm, then there's no worries. He has to draw both K10 and Mamaragan. However, I'm going to heal to 2 life here, meaning it becomes that much more difficult for him to kind of get the final kill on me, as I have 2 2Ks in hand plus 2 life cards that we're about to see. And here again, I'm debating on playing Boa Hancock first to see what my top life is, as I'd love the Zoro to be in the trash so I can put a Gecko to heal it, or to revive it. I choose to go the safer route and play double Borsellino just because I'm tracking his trash. I know what he has left, and it's unlikely that he has the exact combo he's looking for. First thing he does is he plays a Reiju, so he has another blocker, 7k, and then a Satori. So I'm guessing now at this point he's cycling He's trying to find an answer to my double blocker endgame board. I'm sure he would love to turn off my triggers here too, just in case I trigger any bodies. So he swings 6. I do 2k this, makes a ton of sense. It lets me keep a body alive, basically. And I'm trying to have as many bodies as possible so I can, go for the kill. So here there's 2 options, or 3 options. I could go for Perfume Femur to see if I can kind of cheese the kill. I think that's the least likely option. There's also Gloriosa and Gorgon Sisters. Gorgon Sisters seems like a safe bet since it's a 2k. However, I have only seen one Gecko now, which is in this search. And if I top deck a Gecko, Gloriosa will let me do a Zoro Boa Gloriosa play where I can play a blocker, heal, and then set up another heal or another blocker from trash. So I think that Gloriosa has a higher ceiling here. I end up choosing the Gloriosa just for that combo. And I can finally discard that Boa Hancock that's been a brick in my hand. I do heavily debate on discarding the Zoro, but I have a feeling that I'm going to need it to do a double heal or a heal blocker play. He plays Lightning Dragon to cycle. He plays a Varia to cycle. I believe he's going to play another Lightning Dragon to kind of cycle through his deck. He might be looking for counter. He might be looking for the Kitten Mamaragan answer. Not positive on what his thought process is here, but there's another Lightning Dragon. And the third. So 3 Lightning Dragons back to back. So 3, 6, 9. 9 spells that are really important, and 2 of the pop spells. And here he kind of represents everything he's going to do. He plays a pudding, and I can see he's going to go 10-14. So I can kind of take at any point that I want. I do block a little early. I think I could have taken my last life before choosing to block in case I trigger something that would be a little bit more beneficial, but no, I end up just blocking the first swing. There's no way he could have had double Kitten, double Mamaragan, but I want it to be 100% safe. And there's a Kaya, and I do draw a second Zoro. So I'm going to start by swinging 5 to lead because, of course, I want to represent that I have an unblockable. So I want to force him to kind of block here or force him to counter. Especially if it's Mamaragan, I'll be the happiest, but it's not. So I do end up playing the Boa, and on top of that, I do see the Moria. Moria is exactly what I've been looking for, and I do have double Zoros, so I play the Boa. And I debate here on how much I should swing. I choose to swing 8 as it requires the most amount of counter commitment from him if he wants to, stay at 1 health. Because I know I'm going to play Zoro, and I'm not going to pitch a 1k counter for that. I'm going to pitch the other Zoro, which also sets up a heal out of the trash that I guarantee because of that Boa top 3 search. So here he chooses to block and use that Divine Departure he searched earlier. And discarding Elthor. So Namil would probably be safe again because there's 3 Elthors, only 1 left in his deck, but that's nothing to worry about here. We can just play Zoro, heal Zoro, and pass. Now here, I do want him to be at 0 life, so I would like to block the Boa when it's most efficient, so I would love her to take a 10k swing. I do have 2-2, 2-1 in hand. So for the most part, I can counter most things. And as you can see here, he chooses to swing 7, and I will counter that. I don't think he's expecting what's coming next, or else he could have probably swung better numbers. He does go 7-7, and I do counter completely out of hand. And this is because I want to keep as many bodies alive as possible. These are the only ones I can counter out of hand, so we'll go ahead and do that. And right here, I should lock up the game the second I I'm able to block with Boa, because what it's going to do is it's going to protect my life and it's going to eat his last life. I will have the Zoro up ready to attack, as well as the Margaret. With only 3 cards in Enel's hand, he shouldn't be able to come back from this, as this 10k to life I'm going to let go. I'm going to keep the Borsalino standing because there's no need to block. And this Gecko is going to trigger. I'm going to find the Zoro, I'm going to draw, and I'm going to discard Boa to heal the other Boa I saw earlier, and he concedes. So as you can see here, I think a big goal that you have against Enel is to keep poking his life. I think 6 is much better than 5 so that his Mamaragans aren't free. However, you're never scared to swing 5s, because if he gets the free counter with the Mamaragan, that means he has less ways to rest your Boa blocker and Borsalino blocker in the endgame. Since they are, since the Boa is revivable as well as Zoro being an answer, the goal is always to just poke them out as best you can, and it's always a winnable matchup. Thanks for watching.